Hi, this is Serena for Trendy Cellular, and today I am reviewing the MotorolaStaturei9. Let's talk about the way it looks first and foremost. It is, for a Nextel phone, pretty sleek, I have to say. It has this sort of reflective exterior. It's pretty thin on the sides. Resembles a Razr somewhat, which is both good and bad. I suppose the Razr was a pretty sleek phone in its day, so that's good. It's also kind of passé, so I don't know how much you would want it to resemble a Razr. It is a Motorola phone, so, you know. It's sexy enough, especially for a Nextel phone. It's heavy though, it's a little cumbersome, it's a little clunky. For my carny-sized hands, a little hard to hold, actually. For a big man, though, I would say that it might actually feel kind of good in the palm. But I kind of liken it to that girl who is almost cute and would be if she lost 5 pounds, but isn't quite there yet. You know, it's like, oh, you got close, but I don't know, not quite. That said, it does do some really cool things. For instance, it has all these buttons around the outside of the phone, and that is because you can do a lot of things without opening the phone at all. For instance, this screen, as you can see, if I press this button, you get your menu to pop up, which is cool. And then you can use these, this touch screen down here to sort of scroll through your menu items without ever opening the phone. So that's kind of cool, and it's one of the ways in which this phone is kind of deceptive. It just looks like your regular old flip phone, and then does cool things like this. The display is actually really nice. It's really brilliant on both the outside and in, so that's nice. Some of the menu functions don't really make sense to have on the outside, because once you're in that menu function, if you actually wanted to do anything like send a text message, you're gonna have to open the phone anyway. Whatever, it's kind of a cool feature. I also like the fact that it vibrates a little as you go through the menu function, so you get this sort of tactile feedback, which is useful. So there's that. There's also push-to-talk that can be accessed from the outside of the phone, obviously, which is pretty standard with Nextel phones, but is obviously a draw for push-to-talk users. Additionally to that, there is a 3.1 megapixel camera in this, which can also be accessed from the outside of the phone. You press another one of these buttons on the outside, and then it actually orients itself like you would hold a normal camera, which is pretty cool. And then you just point and shoot. The color quality is pretty good. It's a little grainy at times. I mean, it's 3.1 megapixel. It's not exactly at the top end of the range in terms of cameras in phones these days. It's average enough. I would hope that it would be even better, considering it seems to be this big feature of the phone that you can do this from the outside of the phone and whatnot. That said, I mean, if you're not trying to take professional photos with your phone, I'd say it'll do. It was fine for me. It doesn't really bother me. And then once you take the pictures from the outside of the phone, there are also these touchscreen options here where you can go and actually scroll through your pictures and whatnot. So that's all really rather cool. You can do a lot without ever flipping the phone open. Also, there is this handy little button right here that locks everything so that you don't have to worry about accidentally snapping pictures off and whatnot. So that is the exterior of the phone and the exterior functionality, which I think is probably the biggest draw of the phone. Once you flip it open, you can see really brilliant display again. I will say this, the phone quality, sound quality on the phone calls is excellent. Really, really good. So if you're a person who just primarily makes calls, this is a great phone for you. So they made this flat keypad, I'm thinking for aesthetic purposes, right? They want to make it look sleek, they want to make it look sexy, kind of like the exterior of the phone. But then they put these little silver dots everywhere here, again for some sort of tactile feedback, and it kind of ruins the purpose of this whole thing. It totally diminishes the sex appeal of this keypad, not to mention the fact that it doesn't really help you all that much. I can't imagine that if my eyes were closed, I'm looking for 5. I'm guessing that's 5. Okay, and I'm right. But, I don't know, it's still, you have to fumble around a lot with it. It's not nearly as easy as a keypad with keys that are raised, and they're sort of missing the mark with the sex appeal of this. So this keypad sort of just bugs me in general. That said, obviously, you can do things like customize your soft keys and whatnot, so that's nice. The menu itself has all of your standard functions, games and applications, your settings, your multimedia, your tools. Something kind of cool little feature is that you can set your background, your wallpaper, to rotate between the pictures that you've taken, or alternate between the images that are already automatically uploaded into the phone, but that's kind of fun. It's kind of like your desktop on your computer. You can kind of switch it around and play around with it. This phone does have an MP3 player, so that's a plus. The con in the situation is that it's really quiet, like you can barely hear it when it's at max volume. And in addition to that, there's no 1/8" stereo jack to plug in your headphones. You can do it through the USB port, but that's the only outlet they offer you on the phone. And it's definitely not loud enough to just listen to without any sort of earphones in. Texting. My issues with the texting on this phone are related to my issues with the keypad, because the keys are a little difficult to feel around with. You don't have that like natural sort of texting ability that you tend to get with other phones where you no longer have to look at the keypad or anything. This one just feels laborious, frankly. You know, you have to keep looking down at the keypad and whatnot because you're like feeling around for these keys and trying to see what you're pressing. Also, this is a feature that's present in a lot, if not all, of Motorola phones, but the whole process of texting, the way that it functions in the phone menu is a little odd. The steps that you have to take just are not simple. You have to go into your contacts and find the contact and then put it into the address field, and then you have to go back out of that address field to like write your message. There are just so many steps involved, and that's not something that's unique to the Stature. That's something that's present in a lot of Motorola phones, but it just isn't simple. In a lot of phones right now, you have contact recognition and you just, type in the person's name and you shoot it off in 10 seconds. That's not really possible on a phone like this. So if you're a huge texter, it's probably not a good phone for you. Battery life is, it's all right. I had it sitting out for a couple of days and it died. Apparently talk time is something like 3 hours. I don't know, you're gonna have to recharge it a lot, it seems. So what I would say about this phone, if I were to sum it up in a sentence, is that it's an exercise in deception, if anything. It looks kind of just like your run-of-the-mill Razr, but it actually does a fair amount more. It's a decent phone. Again, this was the MotorolaStaturei9, and I'm Serena for Trendy Cellular.